fighting still a year later, a pretty lonely battle on the Republican side to wake up your own party to what they're supporting, which is Joe Biden's chief and craziest policy aim. Like, what is this?
Well, it doesn't feel very lonely from my standpoint, Tucker. You know, we just heard Mike McCall, one of my colleagues in Congress, talk about bipartisan support for this war against Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, there's bipartisan support among the American people.
In fact, there is bipartisan support among the American people, and we'll look into exactly what they support when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war. But that was Fox News, that was Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene marking the 1-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a war that many people thought would be over pretty immediately and has dragged on now for a year. And the Ukrainians have put up quite a fight, of course, with a lot of weapons and help from the United States, which is exactly what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying there, that she and other Republicans like Matt Gaetz are against the funding of Ukraine and helping them with their fight for their sovereignty. But just sort of this is a marker right now, right? This has been a year. There's been so much pain, death, and loss. The Ukrainian people still standing strong, clearly. Russian people losing their appetite for war as they see their loved ones sent off to battle without proper equipment. Putin increasingly painted into a corner by his own doing. And then of course you see Joe Biden kind of doing a little bit of a flex move, going to Kyiv this week. That happened early in the week. But let's just go back to this clip. And Mike, I wanna get your take. This war against Russia in Ukraine, and hang on, was that a chyron that said Ukrainian pimp? Can we go back to that? Yeah, another $10 billion in reference to the money that the United States is giving to Ukraine for the Ukrainian pimp. You guys, that's not a Photoshop job. That's straight up primetime Fox News. Again, this is arguably talking about President Zelensky, former comic. Some of us go on to do great things. And he, who, by the way, obviously has been fighting for defending his country and was the dude that Donald Trump put the squeeze on to try and dig up dirt on Joe Biden. But of course, we've forgotten all about that. But Mike, what does this tell you about the Republican Party and Marjorie?
I mean, the response to me is predictably despicable. But they like this because Putin, I think that they see themselves and their ambitions in Putin. Putin is a fascist, quite frankly. Putin is suppressing free speech. He inhibits any type of opposition towards him. And they view that as the type of blueprint. That's what they want. That's what they kind of saw in Donald Trump. So it's fascism. And it's not like Marjorie Taylor Greene has this critique of the military industrial complex. She is invested in these defense companies herself. It's not like she's critiqued, US aggression in the past or Western colonialism. This is just about her supporting a fascist because he has created a great blueprint for her that she wants to follow. And there's something distinctly Orwellian about a politician using anti-war, ostensibly anti-war talking points to support a war. Like, I feel like this is straight out of 1984, and it's disgusting. And I've got to shout out Kropotkin on Twitter, who said she heard that Putin invaded Georgia and she got really hopeful for a second. So that's why she supports it. So that was a great line.
That's amazing. I mean, look, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills a little bit when it comes to the Russia narrative generally, because I hate what liberal mainstream news, I mean liberal in heavy quotations, what mainstream news has done to the Russia discussion. And I hate what the right, of course, has done. And I hate what what I would call bad faith lefties have talked about, which is like, there's clearly a link between the Republican Party in the United States of America and Putin's Kremlin. Like, hello, the amount of dark money they funneled to the Trump campaign in 2016 through the NRA, to say nothing of, yes, the collusion that of course is fake news and all of that. But here you have it persists. And thank you for calling it like it is, which is there is no whiff of anti-war sentiment here. Republicans have never met a war they don't like. They just don't want to actually give money to see any kind of minimal victory for Biden, maybe like Biden looking tough and whatnot. And they ultimately get some money from Russia themselves. So like, I don't know I feel nuts. I just feel like I'm crazy, actually, and that's what I think this story makes you feel. But speaking of what the American people do want, actually, people say that the United States should be supporting Ukraine against Russian aggression. 48% say they favor the US providing weapons to Ukraine, 29% opposed, 22% they're neither in favor nor opposed. In May 2022, so last year, less than 3 months into the war, 60% of adults say they were in favor of sending Ukraine weapons, and Americans are evenly divided about spending government funds either directly to Ukraine, with 37% in favor, 38% opposed, 23% saying neither. So it's sort of neck and neck, but there was more appetite when the war began. I guess I just want to look at what we have given, both in aid as well as weapons. So this is according to NBC News. More than 166 billion in military, humanitarian, and financial aid was pledged to Ukraine by 40 different countries. The United States, of course, topping that list, 77.6 billion. EU and members and other institutions, 58.2 billion. Now, it looks like though that effort is working. There's talk of things like F-16s. I gotta be honest with you, I would say a hard no, hard pass on giving out F-16s, right? And I think that it's interesting that the one person who was raising the flag and the alarm about the amount of money that we were spending to Ukraine, sort of like, hey, maybe we should check in about this, was Representative Ilhan Omar. And guess what? She got ousted from the House Foreign Oversight Committee, right? Foreign Relations Committee, excuse me. The one person who they could have worked with, Mike.
Yeah, and it's because they have never really been anti-war. And I think that this 1 year anniversary and declining support for USA to Ukraine is giving them this opportunity, in their view, to pounce and drive up this bizarre point that somehow Putin is the victim here. And they're hoping we'll forget that he's the individual who invaded. He is the aggressor here. No, I think that the American people, they don't have an appetite for war, right? So I think that it's a good dose of skepticism with the military-industrial complex is absolutely warranted when it comes to aid to Ukraine. We don't want to make sure that we're somehow prolonging the effort. We know that the military-industrial complex has a financial incentive to drag this out. But at the end of the day, this is imperialism, and the Ukrainian people have the right to defend themselves, because again, they were the ones who were invaded. They didn't choose to have Ukraine or have Russia invade them. So it's so bizarre that we're living in this Orwellian version of America where peace is war, Putin is the victim here. It does feel like we're being gaslit. Like I think it's best. Like I feel like it feels like we're going crazy here.
Absolutely, and I think that we can say both things, right? We can say that we have these honest critiques of the military-industrial complex, as well as that nations have a right to defend themselves against, invading countries.